at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now, I'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other electronic devices you might have with you that might copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information package the council will be using are available online on the city's website. Hard copies are here in the front of the room for those who are present at the meeting. I have a statement about the closed meeting at the previous meeting. In accordance with the General Provisions Article, Section 3-306C2 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and without objection, it is noted that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect that the Common Council met in the closed meeting on Monday, March 13th, 2023, at 8:46 p.m. pursuant to General Provisions Article Section 3-305B7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. Motion was made by Mr. Cavacci and seconded by Mr. Hoff, and the vote to close the meeting was unanimous. Following staff members were in attendance: City Administrator Impulse, City Attorney Levan, and Director of Human Resources McCullough. The Common Council took official action during the meeting. Closed meeting adjourned at 9:25 p.m. Thank you. Now we will move forward with our presentations. Before we get into our first scheduled presentation, I'll note that we're always pleased to have a representative from McDaniel College join us. Dr. Julia Jaskin, when she took office as president, said that she would try to send somebody to every meeting to give us a report on what's happening at the college and to share a little information from our meeting of what's happening here in the city. So we're pleased to have Christine Moran, the Associate Vice President for Student Success. Ms. Moran, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I just have a few announcements that I'd like to share. I want to remind everyone that our athletic events are free and open to the public. The college will be hosting an academic symposium and service fair on May 1st. Classes will be canceled, so students are able to attend a variety of sessions, which are also open to the community. Both President Julia Jaskin and City Administrator Sarah Imholz are serving on a community panel that day, and our website will be updated with details shortly. We're also delighted to share our upcoming commencement speakers. We are delighted to have Sharon Love, class of 76, the founder of the One Love Foundation, as our speaker for our graduate ceremony. And our undergraduate ceremony will feature legendary Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalist and best-selling author, Bob Woodward.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Excited to have Bob Woodward coming to the community, and we'll look forward to these events. Thank you again. It's time for our quarterly Ting presentation. I'm very excited to hear from Vicki Slinkman about the progress of what's happening with Ting. This is an important partnership for the city, as Ting is the organization that lights the Westminster fiber network. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to review our metrics and our activities for 2 quarters. So both for October through December of 2022, as well as January through March of 2023. But starting with last year, we had a fantastic year, ended 2022 with 2,248 subscribers, which represented a 13% increase over 2021. Awesome that we're still getting that double-digit growth, especially when we've been, in market for so long. So people are still hearing, engaging, and signing up for service. And then between the last quarter and this quarter, we grew by 3%, which has been our kind of steady for the past few quarters, growing about 3% every quarter. And that's thankfully, because we're still generating new orders as well as keeping our churn rate incredibly low, so less than 1% of customers leave us, and the majority that do are because they're moving, and then we do a good job getting them kind of back in, whomever moves into the home after they've left. So to dive into our activities, and I'll try to go through this quickly because we're doing 2 quarters. There were a lot of events and sponsorships that we participated in. So back in the fall, we attended the Bull and Oyster Roast for Together We Own It, and were awarded their Heart of the Community Award, which was lovely and such a nice surprise to receive. We sponsored the Hammer and Ales event for Habitat for Humanity. We obviously do a lot of work with the Mid-Atlantic Gigabit Innovative Collaboratory Magic. So we sponsored their Capture the Flag event. We supported the Carroll Hospital Auxiliary Ball. And then really fun, we supported Find Your Purpose. They had a youth pop-up shop where they had some of the youth with their program selling merchandise at the downtown indoor Westminster Farmers Market. And I just love that photo because it's just such a cute representation, and the kids do love our sticker sheets. You'll notice a familiar face there. We sponsor 2 programs right now within the community. So Spire Girls, which is a STEM education for girls in grades 8 through 12. We also sponsor Schools Out Arts In at the Carroll Arts Center. So anytime school is out, they have great programming for kids. And I know this because I take my 8-year-old son to every one of them. So it's awesome to have that kind of free activity in the community middle of the day. We, of course, continue to sponsor many of the city's events through the Jingle Bell Run, the Spooky Sprint, and the Celtic Canter. We also sponsored and attended the Youth Talent Show that Find Your Purpose put on, as well as Magic's Good Game Festival. That is our 8-year-old son. He was a representative of Ting on our team and competed against one of the owners of Black and Coffin in Tawnytown at DDR. Sadly, we did not place as well as we did in the prior year because our ringer, our star performer, was out sick, but we'll be going for that trophy next year. We've also started doing a test of giving away really juicy sort of items from businesses within our community as a means of both increasing engagement on our Instagram page, as well as it gives us the opportunity to collect information from interested customers who may not be ready to order, but are just expressing their interest. So they send us their lead information and then we're able to email them. And of course, it's also a nice way for us to patronize businesses in the community, many of whom are also Ting customers. So we started with a $150 Covalent Spirits gift card in December, which is obviously a huge hit. And we'll be planning some other events with them later in the year. And then we gave away tickets to a comedy show at the Carroll Arts Center through their Brouhaha comedy series. Then followed with February, $250 gift certificate to the spa on West Main. And right now we have a giveaway running for a $150 awards gift card, and that runs until the 31st. During this time period, we also had 2 sort of larger campaigns running. The first we called Level Up. So the idea was level up your winter with Ting. So everything that you already do at home, you can do a little bit better with reliable, speedy internet service. And with this, we gave away a free month as well as a $250 gift card, which is the customer had a selection of like 4 or 5 different ones that they could choose from. That was very popular. And that ran during the month of November 15th through January 15th. And then our campaign that's in market right now is Internet That Gets You. So it kind of talks about all those things that people are typically used to in dealing with their, traditional internet service provider, and how those are not things that you're going to experience with Ting. And our offer there was a $200 service credit. And this promotion runs until the end of the week. I was very pleased to welcome the business community and the Chamber of Commerce to our new office for a ribbon cutting celebration. We moved out to the airport and have a great space there. And it was so lovely to have everyone come and see the space. We enjoyed food from the Chick and from Emily Kate cupcakes. We had her cupcakes and cookies, and she's a Ting customer. If you ever want her treats, delicious. They also sell them at Island Green, so there's a tip if you ever want to try any. And we had a fun photo booth, and it was just a really great evening of just communing with other people from the community. And special thanks to Deputy Director of Public Works, Nick, as well as council members Dayhoff and Gilbert for attending. And then lastly, we have events that are Ting hosted, and these are part of our customer appreciation initiative. So we want to make sure that when customers come on with Ting, that they're really satisfied with the service, but that they are also, feeling appreciated, because that's something that I don't think most of us get in our day-to-day with any utility provider. So back in November, we had Be Kind Sign Paint Party. We teamed up with the Action for Kindness folks to do that, and had about 70 customers come out to Exploration Commons and paint their own Be Kind signs, which was great. We had a lot of really good works. And then just this past Saturday, we had a waffle giveaway. If anybody has been to Molly's Cafe, know that they have delicious Belgian waffles. So we gave away either an order of waffles or a waffle sandwich. And despite the horrible weather, it was awful on Saturday, we had about 40 customers come out and take part in it.
That's a lot of miles.
And that was everything I wanted to share with you all this evening. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Slinkman. Mayor Becker.
Yeah, when you mentioned, how does that work when someone moves out of the community and someone new moves in? I assume Ting leaves the hardware at the house that they've installed, and so when a new resident comes into the house or buys the property, is it just a simple act of reconnecting them to Ting?
We hope so, as long as the equipment is still in good condition, then typically we can do a remote activation. Unfortunately, sometimes if there's been a lapse in time, there could be damages to the equipment that's on the side of the house. We have had cases where people physically remove the equipment. We're not going to attempt to some of this, remove the equipment from the side of the house. So it really just depends. But generally what we find with the majority of cases is, and Deputy Director Dick and I mentioned this to him every month because he had noticed it probably a year ago, that when I sent reporting, there would be an address on an activation and cancellation within the same month. And he was like, what is that? And I said, well, it was literally the person moved out. And then the next day when the new homeowner closed on the house, they were able to activate their service.
Right.
Yeah. And so frequently, we engage with realtors. So we hope that realtors are telling people about their ISP options. And then we also send postcards whenever there's a cancellation so that the new homeowner knows that that's available. And then we also advertise in various homeowners and moving magazines.
Right, great, thank you. And can you let me know when International Waffle Day is next year? I missed that, and I'm sort of disappointed. So.
I'm so sorry. We know we're having some email issues, so I will make sure that our system has everyone's current email.
I'll make a note in my calendar as well.
There's apparently also a National Waffle Day.
I mean, I'll celebrate both.
Yes.
Do we get a second bent waffle?
I mean, yeah, it's waffles.
Mr. Kavachi, I couldn't.
Yeah, so can you go back to slide 3, your subscriber rate?
Yeah.
By the way, you're doing a great job.
Sure, thank you.
Really connecting with the community really well. And so I noticed that phase 3, even though it's a year, not a year, half a year older, well, I guess it's about a year older than 2. It's obviously pretty far behind that. It's even actually a little behind 4, which is newer, 6 months newer. I know that's 3 is, I was looking at the map, it looks like it's a lot of the downtown
Yes.
area where you've got business. What do you attribute to, I mean, look, it's not like it's a terrible number, but It is the lowest rate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not where we'd like it to be, and you're absolutely right. It's primarily the neighborhood mix and what we have within that neighborhood. We do pretty well with small businesses, so we have really started to more market to them directly. Where we do struggle a little bit is in some of those MDUs, multi-dwelling units. So the sort of, it used to be a big grand home and now it's cut up into 3 and 4 apartments. And we struggle there for a few reasons. One, we do have some property owners who are not willing to permit us access to the property. And there's, not a ton we can do there. If they don't fill out the access agreement, we're not able to come in, as well as the mix in terms of the demographic there is a little bit different. We do have a decent population within Westminster, close to about 50% that are what we would consider low tech and lower income. And for many of those renters, this isn't necessarily an option that's particularly interesting to them. Many of them only have cell phones as opposed to internet access. And so us coming and saying like, oh, you can get, super speedy gigabit fiber internet access. It's like, I have my phone or I have a hotspot. Like, it's not necessarily compelling. So we've also been doing a lot of work around the affordable connectivity program to help residents understand that they do have options to get great internet service at a really affordable price, but applying for that program is a little bit cumbersome. So we've also been trying to work to figure out ways to help residents kind of navigate that process. The process is all online, which is kind of interesting because then you have to have internet access, or I don't know if anybody's ever tried to fill out a government form on their phone. It's not the easiest process to navigate.
So the past premises on those units that you're talking about, there's 3 or 4 different, apartments or condos or whatever, probably apartments in most cases. How do they get accounted for in terms of past premise count?
So these are addresses where we physically could service them. So the network is within that area. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have a drop yet, meaning that the city has brought the fiber from the handhole in the road up to the home, because that's the next step in the process. It just means that the physical infrastructure is there and is available.
So let's say, 123 Main Street, it's a building that has 4 units in it, 4 condos in it, but none of them are connected. They haven't run a line to that. Is that one? That's not a past premise at all at that point.
No, it is. It is counted as it's counted as 4.
Because there's 4 independent addresses.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. President,
Mr.
I was just going to comment because I looked at the numbers from November, went back and found that. One thing that I was really impressed is that you're continuing to have growth in each phase.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just adding to the newer phases, phase, the pilot phase is continuing to have growth. So it's really nice to kind of see that growth across the board. So that's great and hopefully encouraging for the future.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Anyone else? So, it occurs to me, Mr. Brown, that the city has an interest in seeing the people who are participating who live in homes, residences that are part of the rental housing program, have access to this. Many of those folks are in the population this Slinkman is describing, and they would benefit from the low cost access. Certainly, it's in the city's interest to have those folks be connected and to be able to make use of the service that the city is providing. Maybe there's an opportunity to work together to see if we can't make the folks who own those properties, more aware that they could have their, needs connected with Ting, be able to provide that at a subsidized rate, to people who live there. We can see where we can. Thank you. So.
Thank you.
Sure. So thank you. I mean, clearly Ting continues to make an important contribution to the community beyond providing gigabit fiber. The work you're doing in the community to engage with a lot of community groups as well as the city is terrific. So Appreciate that. Always great to get the quarterly report, and it's great to continue our partnership with things.
Thank
Thank you very much. Right. We have two proclamations from the mayor this evening. Dr. Becker, would you like to share those?
No, to not have anyone here to pick them up, but I'll stand anyway in the normal proclamation spot. But for how became the proclamation spot?
Many years of,
Many years of proclamations being read in this spot. So the first proclamation is for National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, which is April 9th through the 15th. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police or emergency medical services. And when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And the safety of our police officers is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Westminster Police Communications Center. And public safety telecommunicators, are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And public safety telecommunicators of the Westminster Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals and the provision of police services. And each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Dr. Mona Becker, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the Common Council, declare the week of April 9th through the 15th, 2023, to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Westminster, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalisms keep our city and citizens safe. That will happen the week after Easter. The second proclamation is for Arbor Week, which the city celebrates every year. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And this holiday, called Arbor Day, is observed in Westminster every year with a celebration organized by the Tree Commission. And trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, clean the air, produce oxygen, increase groundwater, clean surface water, and provide habitat for wildlife. And properly placed trees cut heating and cooling costs by moderating the temperature, reducing the urban heat island effect. And trees increase property values and enhance the economic vitality of business areas. And trees inject natural beauty into the city for residents and visitors alike to enjoy. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Mona Becker, Mayor of the City of Westminster, do hereby proclaim the week of April 24th as Arbor Week in the City of Westminster. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day on April 28th, 2023, and to support efforts to protect our plants, trees, and forests. And I also urge all citizens to plant trees, for which will further increase the sustainability of the City of Westminster, Carroll County, the state of Maryland, and the entire planet. Sign this day, the 27th day of March in the year 2023. The city will be celebrating Arbor Day by planting a tree with the Boys and Girls Club on Main Street. I think they're planting a serviceberry tree. Does anyone have the agenda up that has a date in it? It's in your packet. Oh, seven? No, oh, I have it on my, right there, it's in that one, where are they? No, there's. Wednesday, April 12th at 4 p.m. The City of Westminster Arbor Day tree planting will be outside the Boys and Girls Club located at 71 East Main Street, where a serviceberry tree will be planted in a sidewalk tree pit that is now vacant. Right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Becker. Move on now to the approval of the minutes. We have minutes of the meeting of the Mayor and Common Council on March 13th, 2023, and the closed meeting of the same date. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Hoff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. Ayes have it. Minutes are approved. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion by Mr. Hoff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. And consent agenda is approved. Now it's time for the report from the mayor. Dr. Becker.
Get to talk a lot at the beginning. All right, on March 17th, I had a short cameo in the play, Check Matey at New Daniel College. It was actually a musical. It was produced by Barrier Free, which is hosted in Sykesville. If you're not familiar with Barrier Free, it's a nonprofit disability service organization that provides inclusive art, self-advocacy, and social programming to the community for neurodivergent adults. They have 2 theater companies for adults 18 and over, and the organization is headed by Britt and Lauren Burr. They are both just absolutely amazing ladies, and it was a really fun evening to spend up at the college with the cast from Check Matey. It was about a group of pirates that were tired of pirating, and so they became chess. So, it was great. All right. On Sunday, March 19th, Mayor Stacy Link of Sykesville and myself were the invited guests at the PFLAG monthly meeting, where we talked about running for office and the roles we have as mayors in our community. There were a lot of great questions from the audience, and we tag teamed that presentation pretty well when we were there. Just last Saturday, I participated in Read Across America Day at the Career and Tech Center, hosted by Carroll County Education Association and sponsored in part by the Rudolph Girls, our bookstore downtown. I read Giraffes Can't Dance. I learned in the book that they can dance. You just have to find the right music. Let's dance to it. Everyone has their own music to dance. What?
What did you ask for?
It boogie. That's the best I can tell you. So actually it was the music to the stars because the giraffe was looking up at the stars and heard the music and started to dance. I had a great time. There were some other local officials there, and there were tables set up for all the attendees. Every time we had a pancake breakfast and a book to take home, which was perfect. It's coming into spring now. I've given up on snow. That's for Miss Imholz who's listening in there. I just wanted to remind residents that we have 50 miles of trails within the city to enjoy in the spring, summer, and fall, and information can be found on the city's recreation and park page. And then in conclusion, I just wanted to say thanks to all the council members for their hard work in the community and on their committees. We'll have some good committee reports throughout the meeting and our future meetings. And also thanks to all the staff, always thanks to all the staff. But tonight, I'd particularly like to recognize the administrative staff, especially Mr. Barber, our clerk, and Erica Kirchner. Yes, Ms. Kirchner, who are immensely helpful at keeping me organized. Thank you. Couldn't do it without them.
All right, thank you, Mayor. It's now time for reports from standing committees. We'll begin with our Arts Council liaison.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to remind everyone that the 16th annual Peak Show is coming up. Starts March 31st and continues through April the 10th. Always brings an awful lot of folks downtown, and we're already seeing a lot of folks downtown. So we look forward to that event every year. And that'll be my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Danoff. Economic and Community Development Committee.
Mr. President, the only thing I will report is that we have a meeting this Friday at 9:30 at 45 West Main.
All right, thank you very much. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I will report that, as you all know, it's budget season. The finance staff and Ms. Imholz have been hard at work working on developing the first draft of the budget. The Finance Committee will be having a preliminary discussion on that subject with staff on Thursday, at which time we hope to set the schedule for the council's engagement and the rest of the budgeting process, so we'll be reporting back to you shortly after Thursday on what you can expect in terms of budget workshops and things like that. We want to make sure that we get lots of time scheduled for input from the community. That's all I have for that. Ms. Gilbert, personnel.
I want to draw everybody's attention to our website regarding March City positions. We have several positions available as we are nearing summer camp season and the opening of our new pool. Camp director, lifeguard, pool manager, assistant pool manager, and camp counselor positions are all available. These are great summer job opportunities to supplement your own income, or if you're the college student looking for that perfect job, to our webpage, look at our job descriptions and apply. There are also some openings and opportunities in the police department for a deputy and entry level and lateral officers. So please take a look at all of them if you are interested. Well, I have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Public safety, Mr. Kavachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 14th, members of the Westminster Police Department participated in the annual Chamber of Commerce Leadership Criminal Justice and Wall Day to Scott Peter with us this evening. And City Administrator Sarah Imhalse are members of this current leadership class. On the 15th of March, Detective Alex Dougherty completed his probationary period and was designated with the rank of police officer first class. On the 17th, police recruit Stephen Winkler graduated from the Carroll County Sheriff's Office Police Academy. While he was a recruit, Winkler received the Police Academy's award for the highest overall physical fitness and ability test scores. He became a police officer, Winkler. That same day, I had the opportunity to swear him into that position, so it's always great when we get to do that and fill in for the mayor. He is currently assigned to a patrol squad where he is completing the field training and evaluation program. On March 22nd, Chief Ledwell attended the quarterly Maryland Chief of Police Association meeting. The association discussed the upcoming annual professional development conference and the accompanying aspiring leaders program, as well as current proposed Maryland legislation that will further affect police departments. On the 28th, Sergeant Michelle Donovan was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. Lieutenant Donovan will be assigned to the Patrol Bureau Squad A as the squad commander. This promotion was made to fill a vacancy created by the retirement of Lieutenant Steve Launchy. Donovan participated in the competitive promotional process that included an oral board assessment, exercise, and a promotional potential scoring process. Mr. President.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kavachi, and thank you, Public Works as well.
I'd be happy to. The Public Works Department painted the fountains over at Bell Grove Square, or fountain, multiple, sorry. They tilled and prepared the community gardens, constructed a permanent water filling station at the community gardens, constructed bunny ears game for upcoming Easter egg hunt to be hosted by the Recs and Park Department. Not really sure what that is, but they did it. And scaffolding will be going up on April 7th and 8th at the clock tower. There's going to be a crane in front of the building and traffic will be shifted over a little bit, but there will be two-way traffic will remain on Main Street both of those days. So that's all I have for that, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kavachi, and on behalf of the Technology Committee, I don't have much to report except that we're very pleased to have our new director of technology here with Mr. Rick Moore. It's his first council meeting he's been president for, public meeting anyway. And we're pleased to have him. And now that he's here, we will be scheduling a technology meeting so we can start putting him through his paces. More welcome. Very much. Now it's time for council comments and discussion, when council members have the opportunity to share anything that's not elsewhere on the agenda. We begin with Mr. Kavachi.
I'm good, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Mr. Dehoff.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Councilwoman Gilbert and I went over the list earlier, so I wonder if you want to go first. Can I yield my time to her? Let her go first, and then when she doesn't mention, I'll pick up.
There's no, I don't go back. I'm turning this Gilbert.
Well, I don't want her to kick me. All right, let me give it a try. Councilwoman Gilbert and I attended the Ting ribbon cutting. We also attended the quarterly meeting of the MML in which you were going to mention that. Mr. Hudson gave us a presentation on the Robert Newton School. And Ms. Gilbert and I attended the Shepherd Staff Empty Bowls on yesterday. And that was a great event. A lot of folks were there. What should I leave you? All right. We went to, Ms. Gilbert and I also attended Lunch About Nothing today at lunch. That was good. There were a lot of, you're going to kick me.
I'm going to kick you in the nuts.
Yes, sir. There were a lot of the merchants were at the Lunch About Nothing. It was a really good meeting. I attended the recognition of Dr. Raza Khan by the Carroll County Human Relations Commission. And I'll mention this one because you won't get this one. Gathering for Food. My wife is the director of Carroll Food Sunday. And if you noticed, if you went by the distillery building on Saturday, there were Boy Scouts everywhere. They brought in 20,000 pounds of food for Carroll Food Sunday. Mr. Kavachi and I will be running around on April the 1st for the Willis Tag Sale. And the Main Street Mile is coming up on April the 12th, which is always a great event. And I'll stop while I'm behind, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Ms. Gilbert.
Thank you. I'll try to elaborate on a few of this point.
Good.
So I'll start with the MML quarterly meeting that was about 2 weeks ago. Councilman Dayhoff and myself did attend, and while we were there, there was a presentation that was given by Mr. Hudson. I hope I have that name correct. And it was on behalf of the former students and friends of Robert Newton High School. We were quite impressed with the presentation and encouraged him to come forward to the rest of the council and to you, Mr. President, of which later we can chat about. So more to come on that topic later in this meeting. I also attended the off-track art reception on the 19th of March by the Infinite Love Project, kind of commonly known as the Be Kind Sign folks. They were selling signs at Off-Track Art, and along with that, they were also selling signs for donation to go back to the classrooms and to the teachers of Carroll County Public School System. So that was really kind of nice to make that donation and for the community. Empty Bowls was already mentioned. I will skip over that, other than that Shepherd staff puts together a really nice community event where a lot of the community come together to help an organization that spreads everything that they do and collect throughout the community and to all those that need something, from Easter baskets to Christmas stockings to donations, from paper products to any number of things that one really doesn't think about when it comes to other forms of donations. Food stamps often are given to a lot of folks, but it only covers food products. It doesn't cover a lot of things that include detergent, things like that, that Shepherd staff kind of picks up and helps out. This week is Drug and Violence Expo on Thursday. The Drug and Violence Awareness Expo is a one-day annual event that provides the community with an opportunity to learn about the various issues plaguing our county and the resources available to combat them. The event is for all ages, but targets today's youth affected by the opioid addiction, bullying, domestic violence, and sexual assaults. It will be March 30th at the Ag Center from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And on a very happy hoppy note, the bunny trail and egg hunt will be at Wakefield Valley on April 1st. I believe probably Ms. Gruber will elaborate on that a little later. But I am excited for the storybook and craft trail myself, and all the little egg hunts divided up in ages, along with the upcoming wine stroll and Main Street Mile. Looks like Westminster is hopping right into spring.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Gilbert.
Jamal. Mr. President, I'll just give a quick update as far as I continue to keep an eye on things in Annapolis, and communicating with our lobbyists, as well as I know the mayor has been in touch with the lobbyists as well as you, Mr. President. It's just to kind of refresh everybody's memory with our water reuse bill. Our House version of the bill passed the House, the Senate version passed the Senate. And I know this kind of gets technical for those that are not used to how all this process works, but now we need the House version of the bill to pass the Senate, or the Senate version of the bill to pass the House. And the end of session is quickly approaching. It appears that the House version of our bill is going to a vote on Thursday in the education, in the Senate's Education, Energy, and the Environment. So I don't have an update. We don't need the both versions to go through. We just need one. So that's good news. I'll continue to keep you all posted. Hopefully that gets voted out of committee on Thursday, and then makes it on its way to the Senate floor, because time is quickly disappearing on us. So I will continue to keep you all posted as things develop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. All right, and I don't have anything to add at this point. So we'll move right on now to ordinances and resolutions. The first item is introduction of ordinance number 2023-02, ordinance of the mayor and common council accepting a quitclaim deed for an unimproved section of Sycamore located between East Green Street and Winchester Avenue in the city of Westminster. Mr. Depot, you want to fill us in on this?
Yes, thank you. Chris Wilson of Wilson Homes contacted the city of Westminster regarding the construction of a single-family detached house on a vacant parcel along Sycamore Street. It's just at the intersection of Winchester Avenue and Sycamore, had Sycamore Street extended all the way through. The portion of Sycamore Street abutting the parcel is not constructed, and Mr. Wilson desires to construct a driveway within this unapproved portion of Sycamore Street. However, it appears that the portion of Sycamore Street that is located between East Green Street and Winchester Avenue was conveyed to Michael Humbert by way of deed. The ordinance being introduced tonight allows the mayor and common council to accept a quitclaim deed to this unimproved portion of Sycamore Street, which is the first step in allowing Mr. Wilson to access his parcel. Following the introduction, ordinance 2023-02 will be brought back to a future mayor and common council meeting for approval, along with the resolution of the mayor and common council granting a non-exclusive license over and across a portion of Sycamore Street right of way for the purpose of providing utilities and a driveway for ingress and egress to the parcel. And that completes my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Depot. Right, remember, this is for introduction. May I have a motion on introduction of ordinance number 2023-02?
So moved, Mr. President.
There's a motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Ms. Gilbert. Any discussion or any questions from Mr. Depot? If not, we'll have more chance to discuss this when it comes back to us after it goes through the. Yes. Hearing no questions or discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of introduction, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. And the ordinance is introduced. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is adoption of resolution 23-03, a resolution of the mayor and common council of Westminster urging the board of Carroll County Commissioners to allocate space at the site of the old Robert Milton High School for a museum. And I will discuss this. It's been alluded to a couple of times earlier this evening. After the municipal league meeting last week, when Mrs. Gilbert and Mr. Dayhoff encouraged Mr. Hudson to give me a call about this. He stopped by to see me and shared with me draft resolution for us to consider on this subject. Certainly is a worthy thing, something that's been under discussion for some time in the community. I know that the former students have had this idea out there for some years now. I took Mr. Hudson's draft and we changed it around a little bit. And so the resolution you have before you tonight reads as follows. Whereas prior to the desegregation of public schools in Carroll County, Maryland, students then referred to as colored could only receive a high school education, Robert Milton High School, originally located in the 1930s, the intersection of Charles and Church Streets in Westminster. And whereas The school subsequently relocated to a site on South Center Street in 1949 and continued to operate as a segregated school until 1965. And whereas the Robert Moton High School has an important place in the history of Westminster, Carroll County, and the African-American community. And whereas the Robert Moton High School gave an education to many people in the Westminster area who have made an important and lasting contribution to our community, including one of the area's best-known citizens, former Maryland State Treasurer and member of the Maryland House of Delegates, Richard N. Dixon. And whereas the site of the former Robert Moton High School is now in use by the Carroll County Commissioners as officers from various government agencies. And whereas the former students and friends of the Robert Moton High School Incorporated was established more than 50 years ago in 1972 by the alumni of Robert Moton High School in recognition of the importance of the education they received and the extraordinary sense of community created amongst those who attended the school. And whereas the former students and friends of Robert Moton High School Incorporated has asked the Board of County Commissioners of Carroll County to allocate a portion of the site, a space for a museum of African-American history in Carroll County. And whereas the Mayor and Common Council consider this an appropriate and fitting use for this historic site. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster that the city supports the request of the former students and friends of Robert Moton High School Incorporated. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be transmitted to the Board of County Commissioners of Carroll County. I have a motion on the introduction and adoption.
Motion to introduce and adopt.
A motion by Mr. DeHuff, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Mr. Hall, thank you. Any discussion on this?
Mr. President.
Mr. Kalachi?
And I don't know if you guys are involved in this. Where is it, are you gonna put an addition onto the building or do it within the
No.
existing space?
Existing space, yes.
Because there's a conference room
For the
over
record,
there.
could you, Mr. Hudson,
Oh.
introduce yourself?
I'm sorry. Bill Hudson, president of the former students and friends of Robert Moton High School. Currently, there are 2 county agencies in the building, Park and Recs and Board of Elections. Recently, the Board of Election has made it known that they've outgrown the space that is there. So we're saying that once that happens, they leave, there will be ample space for us to create a museum at the school.
Pretty low cost. I mean, it's not like it's even gonna require a bunch of construction.
No,
The
no,
conference
no.
room, isn't there a Dixon
Yeah.
conference room?
It's not a Dixon room, but it's the former students and friends.
I
of Robert Moton.
thought it was a Dixon room. Okay,
Dixon was president of this organization for about 38 years.
okay, that's why I guess I thought that. Awesome, it's great. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kalachi. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Mr. DeHuff?
So apparently, once the commissioners designate some space, we can go after some grants.
Yes.
And that's really, that would be really helpful to achieve what it is that we would like to achieve. We've been working on this since 2005.
A long time.
We were working on it when I was mayor. We were working on it. And I think it's a wonderful idea. And I think it would be a regional showcase.
Yes.
Because we have a lot to talk about, rich history. That's all I have, Mr. President. I'm really happy. Thank you for turning us around so quickly. But that's what we do.
I think your quickness too.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Steph. Anyone else? You heard? All right, thank you. All right. Ready for the vote? All those in favor of adoption of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. I seem to have the ayes have it. Mr. Barbara, I'd like to be referred to the voting. I don't usually count the vote. Thank you. All right, so the ordinance is adopted, or the resolution is adopted. Thank you. It's been to the county commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
My pleasure.
There is no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Hearing none, move on to new business. There is no new business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any new business to bring forward? Hearing none, we'll move on to departmental reports. And Ms. Imholz, I think, is still unable to speak up. Yeah, but she's been monitoring the meeting and making sure we behave. So I think Mr. Depot is going to act in her place, lead departmental reports.
Thank you. Let's start with the fire department report by Council Member Dayhoff.
No report on the statistics. We're still moving forward with, hiring folks. There was recently an article in the Carroll County Times about the lieutenants that we've hired, for the newly formed, Carroll County Fire Service and EMS, service. So we're moving forward with that. We're still, seeing a lot of calls for service. Spring is here. Let's be safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilmember Dayhoff? Let's move to IT and our new director, Richard Moore.
Not too much to report right now, still being settled in. Had a very warm welcome from everybody. It's been a great experience so far. Dug in, we start going through procedures, policies, what's set up security wise and policy wise. So documenting those so we can make recommendations to the technology committee and go forward with some things we need to do. So thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Moore? Thank you. So let's move to human resources and Director McCullough.
No report for human resources this evening.
Any questions, Ms. McCullough? No? Thank you. Never know. Let's move across the room to Public Works and Deputy Director John Dick.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Just a couple quick updates. The 88 ramp upgrades are finished up now, and they're the same crew is working on the Green Street Bridge sidewalk repair. So they should be starting that this week. So you can see the Mayoral there at the bridge working on that. The roofs are all finished up at 45 and Carroll Arts, except for a skylight that was back ordered. I believe they said probably be another 2 before that comes in. So once that gets installed, then everything will be finished up with the roof projects. The INI started, they're just still televising in different areas for that project. The scaffolding has started to go up. The closure for the road will be for the support beams that go on the roof, so they can build a second layer of scaffolding around the clock tower itself. They're throwing it up pretty quick. I saw them there this morning. I went by at lunch. I was like, okay, this is going really fast. So that's what the closure will be for once they get to the very top part. So that's going along pretty good. And the only other thing, just wanted to clear up a question Ting had for Vicki from Ting was about passes. She was correct. There's one little caveat that's in there. We count for the addresses we know about. If it actually has an address.
That's not what I would do. Right.
Right, yeah. So for the places that don't, what happens there is once somebody calls and gets orders service, once their ONT gets activated, then we pick up that money. So, Mr. President, so does that, there's the potential, because I know when we originally talked about it, it was 10,000, and of course it dropped down to 6, and there's the potential it could climb again, though, a little bit, right? Yes. So one of the big ones is the private areas. The Forest Ridge was one. We couldn't count them at first because that was private. Right. We had no access in there. Once they gave us access, we were able to pick up all of those as passes. We got the same way with the other apartment building complexes in town, Meadowbrook and Bridgeview. Those type of places are the same way. Once or if we ever get access into those, then yes, whatever they are, as far as unit wise, we'll be able to pick them up as well. Just for clarity, to make sure everybody understands, there's a financial component to that count that helps us, pay down the debt service on the money we spent on building the project. So it's of value for us to identify that. So I believe in the beginning, like the number was definitely skewed at 10,000. Without question. Once we got the build done, I believe we dropped down to like 5,200. And as you can see, that's why I asked, because it seems like it's growing, which is a wonder, but it's very good for us. So I just wanted to highlight that be on there. Thanks, John. Yep. Thank you. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Mr. President. Are there going to be any road closures with the Green Street Bridge work? Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's move on to Recreation and Parks Department and Director Abby Gruber.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to take a moment to remind council and the community that our pool membership discount does expire March 31st, the end of this month. So if you are interested in purchasing your pool membership at a discounted price, now is the time to do it. We have seen increased traffic in our phone calls at the office today. So please make note of that. Also, as Councilwoman Gilbert indicated, on April 1st, this Saturday from 10 to 12 at Wakefield Valley Park is our Easter trail and egg hunt. We will be hunting eggs for children ages 1 to 4 at 10:30 and children ages 5 to 8 at 11:30. We will also be exploring Jan Brett's book, The Easter Egg, page by page along the yellow trail at Wakefield Valley Park. So children will engage in reading that book as they walk and then making crafts that correspond to some of the pages in that book. In addition to that, we'll have our bunny petting zoo, and we'll also have games, and the beekeepers will be there, and some other exciting activities. The spring scavenger hunt that will be self-guided on the Red Trail, and just encourage everybody to come out to Wakefield and enjoy a beautiful spring Saturday with their families. In addition to that, Councilman Dayhoff mentioned the Main Street Mile will occur on April 12th. That's at 7 p.m. on Main Street. Runners start at Fair Avenue and Main Street, which is just beyond Carroll Fuels, and they run down to a finish in front of the Westminster Library. And then we invite them back to the Westminster Family Fitness Center for an ice cream sandwich and awards. So it's another great night. It is the 40th anniversary of this amazing event in our town. So, and then lastly, yes, April 22nd, we will bring the wine stroll back to Main Street and are looking forward to that. So this concludes my report, unless there are questions.
Nobody has any questions? Let's move on to the Finance Department and Director Teresa Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. It's always difficult to follow up Ms. Gruber because the department cannot have ice cream, wine strolls, and bunny petting zoos. As President Pecoraro has said, the staff has been very busy working on our fiscal 24 budget. So again, thank you to all the staff who have made their submissions and sat through numerous meetings with us. At this time, the budgets are over back in the finance department, working on pieces that we typically work on, insurance updates and rates and benefit numbers, and lots of consolidation and preparation for future finance presentations to the council. So that's what we're busy doing. I want to thank Ms. McCullough and her team. My team is finally staffed back up to full staff, so we're happy about that. So thank you. So that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
Not seeing any questions. Let's move on to the Police Department and Captain Scott Peter.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Scott Peter. I'm filling in for Chief Ludwell. We wanted to report on the following: that on the 25th, this last Saturday, we held an expedited hiring process for applicants to become police officers. We had 11 applicants that took part in a three-step process with a written test, an interview, and a physical agility test. 10 of the 11 folks passed the assessment, and they'll be moving on to the next phase, which will be a background check. We also currently have one recruit in the Carroll County Sheriff's Office Police Academy. We're working on our recruitment and retention. If I have any questions on.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Let's move on to Housing and Director Eric Brown.
Thank you, Mr. I have nothing of real note to report at this meeting.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, and last and hopefully not least, we'll move on to community planning and development. And this following the theme of Arbor Day and Arbor Week. For the 33rd year, the city of Westminster has been recognized as a Tree City USA. The city of Westminster has again been recognized as a Maryland plant, people loving and nurturing trees community as well. On March 16th, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the 2022 City of Westminster Planning Annual Reporting Information. The commission approved the approved report is then forwarded to Carroll County for inclusion into the Carroll County Planning Annual Report. In addition, the commission found that the City of Westminster's chapter of the Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan Triennial Update was consistent with the City of Westminster Comprehensive Plan. On March 21st, Carroll County Planning Commission reviewed the Hare annexation. This is 1135 Avondale Road, and sent a positive recommendation to the county commissioners. On March 21st, an administrative adjustment application for 71 and 73 West Main Street to allow a reduction in the required number of off-street parking spaces and to allow 4 vehicles to back out directly onto Union Alley was conditionally approved. Last week, the city approved the grading permit for Meadow Branch relocation, which is associated with the Carroll County Regional Airport expansion. Also last week, for downtown, Flowers by Evelyn celebrated their 28th year in business, and Country View Tuxedo celebrated their 25th year in business downtown. And as already mentioned, the city welcomes Sprouts Farmers Market, a grocery store that focuses on farm fresh produce and other healthy, affordable items into the city. This will be located at Westminster Station as part of the Phase 2 development. And that completes my report. And if you have any questions.
On 71, 73 West Main Street, you did the administrative adjustment. Is the site plan approved yet, or is that still in the process?
It is not approved. The administrative adjustment had to be completed first before we move on with the site plan. So we did get a resubmission. We will be providing comments, and that will reflect the administrative adjustment and some of the conditions that were applied.
Okay. Does that property have like a dumpster location or not?
That's one of the elements we asked on the site plan. It did show it. We're asking that be pushed back a little bit. And we also conditioned how trash vehicles could enter the site to actually remove the trash. So we're still working on that final design, site distance, and whether it's a dumpster or trash cans.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Mr. President. May we receive an electronic copy of the annual report?
Absolutely.
I would like to get a copy of it. Thank you. I imagine my colleagues might want a copy of it.
Mr. Depot, on the Meadow Branch Road. So that's down far at the 97 end. Is part of that, is that working with state highways at the intersection there, or is it not go that far?
It's not the intersection. If you're heading down Meadow Branch as it's turning to become Buckshot, right at that turn is where it's being relocated. Right now, it's an access drive. I forget the business that's located further back. So it's just shifting the roadway further to the left if you're driving down and hitting that turn. And it just allows more space for the airport expansion.
And is there any news on the intersection with 97? Yeah, I went through there recently and I had a heck of a time making a turn out of there. We've talked for a long time about signalizing that, but the state signalizing it, I should say, is that in the offing, or is that still farther down?
I think it's further down. My understanding is the intersection, the light at Corporate Center Drive and 97 is eventually going to be or taken away and moved further north to that intersection of Meadow Branch and 97. I don't believe it happens until Meadow Branch extends further to the east. So until that extension happens, I don't believe we'll see the traffic signal moving north.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Depot?
Thank you. That completes your report.
Final item on our agenda is citizen comments, and we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other issues before the city. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. Commenters should include their address and phone number with their comment. And I'll invite anybody who is present with us to share any thoughts they might have with mayor and council. I'll remind everybody this is an opportunity for the public to share their thoughts and concerns with the mayor. Our role tonight is to listen to the comments and respond as appropriate after consultation with each other and staff. Does anybody here wish to be heard tonight? Okay. No one wishes to be heard. Then that concludes our agenda and the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, April 10th. That, without objection, we're adjourned.